What's going on, cyberspace dwellers? It's been another week, and so therefore we have another video for you. So be very excited about that. This week for us has been very, just kind of uneventful for the most part, externally at least. Right? No external circumstances have presented themselves that have, launched us into the stratosphere of unicorndom, for instance. So with with regard to the lack of such circumstances, we are doing all we can internally, which, if this is not your first video, you will not be surprised about. And so, some of the things that we are doing and pushing the needle forward on, or at least how we're prioritizing our time. So, I mentioned in the last video that I'm learning Python as an attempt to start to fill the gaps, at least from my partner not being as involved in the company. And then, so I've done a couple courses online, learned a few new tricks, I guess you could say, put in my little tool belt, and I've built a couple games. So built a Hangman game, which is great, and yeah, things are moving along quite nicely on that front. I actually kind of enjoy development. It's pretty close to our product is algorithm based or heavily algorithm reliant, and I built a lot of the prototypes for that in Excel with if statements and things that are very relatable to development or code. And so part of that has been really easy for me to grapple with, and then obviously there's challenges dealing with some new concepts that I'm not as familiar with. But overall, I think it's a pretty enjoyable thing, and I'm kind of sad I didn't really attempt to dive into development earlier in life. I'm 30 now, so that's ancient by development standards, and it's empowering though to pick up a new skill and start to learn something new. And so now one of my near-term goals is to, and I'm saying it on this video to make sure that I don't let this slip into the cracks, through the cracks, whatever. But my near-term goal is to build a side project that is a marketing piece for our main company. So I'll develop some sort of, calculator or, some little cool tool or something that's, quite simple, or at least theoretically, in my mind, conceptually simple, and then launch that as a sort of, not a supplementary service, but just sort of as a marketing piece for our current product. And I think that way we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. I'll be developing content that supports our main cause, and then at the same time picking up the new skill, pushing that forward and filling the gaps. So I think that'll be a worthwhile endeavor. Alternatively, or additionally rather, the other things that I'm working on right now are optimizing the business model for the current product or current business, obviously, and some of the things that we're doing to optimize, because our one of our biggest problems right now is churn. And so given the fact that we have a lack of development resources to address that from a product standpoint, I'm doing everything I can to pad our offering in ways that are less efficient, I guess, or less efficient at scale for sure, but more personal. So, switching from OLARC, for instance, to Intercom, which I guess for those of us that are not as online centric in our businesses, that's just simply a chat system. So it's really easy for customers or leads that are on our website to reach out to us and ask us some questions. And so there's more direct line of communication there. I felt like OLARC, there was still a little bit more of a barrier, and we're already starting to see a little bit return, or some returns rather, on the implementation of Intercom, which was only yesterday, which is weird. And so that's one way we're kind of extending ourselves and making ourselves more available to our customers, or to potential customers at least. And then we included a scheduling of a demo link on our site, so people can easily schedule a demo for a time that suits them whenever they'd like to learn how to use our platform before even signing up. So that is, again, just making us more available, and then also getting them up to speed and as competent as possible with our tool before they even start using it. So I think that'll help with the churn aspect of it. And then we're going to reconfigure some onboarding emails, things like that. And then also we're sending personalized thank you videos every time new customers sign up. So just a quick little less than 1 minute video saying, hey, we noticed you signed up and we really thank you and appreciate you doing so, something like that. And, just to make ourselves stand out a little bit. It's easy, especially with online businesses, to hide behind your website. And so I don't want that to be the case, especially since the area that we're focusing on is pretty technically complex. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve from our customer standpoint, and want to make sure that they get through that as easily as possible with the least amount of friction as possible. And, I think putting a face behind, like the company, and saying, hey, we're here to help, and just offering that little bit of inefficient, bonus, I think sets us apart to some degree, and also helps with really, reinforcing our core values, because customer service is going to be a really large part of how we're going to differentiate ourselves from our customers, because there is a lack of good available products on the market with regard to who we're competing against. And so, offering good service and, being available, I think that's something that not a lot of websites are doing as much. You're starting to see it more, definitely, but certainly in spaces like ours, it's just not happening. So we're going to do the hard work, because it's certainly not easy to do, to add inefficient processes to your business model. But I think those are the things that ultimately end up paying dividends in the long term. Because, again, we're all people. We all want to relate to one another, and we want to have, a human experience, even if we're on our computers 24/7 like I am. I'd like to be able to interact with people and, have that contact, and get sort of that same experience that you would get going to a store or something like that. I think that's something that won't go away. We're not going to all of a sudden just strap into our VR headsets and shut off from the world. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. So yeah, that's the primary initiatives that we're working on, of course, aside from these videos and the blog, and of course answering customer service, everything else that's going on. But those are the main priorities at the moment, as far as what we're working on that are somewhat new, and trying to push ourselves forward in new directions and figure out what's working and what's not. We do know, again, that churn is one of our biggest problems, so we are coming up with ways to solve that right now that don't necessarily require development hours. And as a result, I'm pretty exhausted right now, actually. And, no surprise, I guess, there. But I'm going to do something blasphemous this weekend in the startup world. And I'm going to take both days and not work during the weekend. I know. You might as well just turn off your computer and not listen to me anymore, because I'm obviously not a real entrepreneur. But I think that getting your rest and, kind of taking a step back and relaxing and re-energizing is going to be important in the long term. It's a marathon, not a sprint, if I can use one of those stupid sayings that people use all the time. And, I haven't taken a full weekend in about a month now, so I feel not necessarily justified. That's not the case, but, I feel like I deserve it a little bit. So I'm going to take both days. I'm going to do my best to take both days. I'm not going to promise anything. I might do a few things, but I'm going to do my best to take the full weekend and re-energize. And by the time you guys see me next week, it's just going to be a whole new me. And who knows? We might even be in an office. We might have, secured $100 million in VC funding, and we'll be a unicorn. And then therefore, I can just buy my yacht and sail the world, and that's it. I don't know why I went there, but I did. Anyways, that's it for this video. And, if you have any comments, questions, or anything, again, I'm here. This is my face. I'm a real person. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions. So, yeah. Have a great weekend.